You want to hear a story? Fine. But don't expect a happy ending, or some neat little lesson learned. This is just how I torched my entire life, all for a thrill, and the best part? I lit the match myself. He screamed I was a liar, a cheat, a destroyer of worlds, and the sick, twisted irony? He was dead right. But the open marriage, that little gem I sold him, that was my masterpiece, my perfect little escape hatch, my license to burn our life to the ground while pretending we were building something brave and new. It was supposed to be my secret playground. Instead, it blew up in my face, spectacularly. Our marriage wasn't much of a death. It was more like a slow fade. You know, like an old photo left in the sun, all the bright colors just bleached out, leaving behind this dull, sepia-toned obligation. Michael, yeah, that's my husband, or, well, still is, on paper, wasn't a bad guy. God, that would be too easy, wouldn't it? Make him the villain. No, he was predictable, stable, about as exciting as a damn metronome. Pasta night every Tuesday. Wash the car every Saturday morning. Our sex life had the same damn schedule, the same passionless, robotic routine. I was suffocating. Seriously. Drowning in a sea of beige. I guess some women would have suggested therapy, or a romantic trip, or, actually talked about the massive hole where our connection used to be. But I wasn't interested in fixing it. I wanted a different kind of pulse. The forbidden, hammering beat of something I shouldn't have. I craved a storm, not a damn shelter. And the bitterness, oh, that had been brewing for years, this slow, simmering anger for the life I felt stuck in, for the boring woman I'd let myself become. I was furious at him for being so damn content, for not seeing the cracks I was practically trying to pry open. The affair, it wasn't some grand, premeditated scheme, not in the beginning. It was Bryce, who exploded into my monochrome life like a rogue wave. He was the antithesis of Michael, a storm of unpredictability and raw intensity, where Michael was a predictable, flickering candle. It started with the way he looked at me, truly looked, past the facade of the contented wife I wore like a too-tight dress. He didn't just see the boredom clouding my eyes or the restlessness thrumming beneath my polite smiles. He mirrored it. Our first real touch. We were at an after-work thing, a crowded bar, the noise a dull roar. He leaned in to say something, his hand brushing my arm, and it wasn't just a touch. It was like a live wire, a jolt that shot straight through me, waking up parts of myself I thought had died. That one accidental brush felt more real than years of lukewarm affection. Suddenly, the world wasn't beige anymore. Colors were sharper, sounds were clearer. I wasn't just existing, I was charged, every cell crackling with a forbidden, intoxicating energy. In his arms, under his gaze, all the pent-up resentment towards my stale marriage, towards Michael, found its dangerous release. It felt less like a betrayal and more like a desperate, illicit reclamation of a woman I'd lost, even if that woman was being reborn in shadows and lies. Bryce became my clandestine world, my vibrant, secret escape. Those stolen hours with him were like breathing pure oxygen after years of shallow breaths. We'd meet in dimly lit bars where no one knew our names, or in his messy, exciting apartment that felt 1,000,000 miles away from my sterile home, the city itself becoming our playground. I remember the rain on the windows of a tiny cafe, his hand over mine, his eyes promising everything Michael's couldn't. The risk, the constant thrum of anxiety about being discovered, was a potent spice. It was exhausting, yes, but oh, the adrenaline was addictive. I wanted more than just snatched moments. I wanted the freedom to indulge, to live this electrifying part of my life without the constant fear. And that's when the idea, so sneaky and I thought brilliant, started to grow. An open marriage. It wasn't an easy pitch. Michael, bless his clueless, conventional heart, was horrified. Open marriage? Sarah, what the hell are you talking about? Like, seeing other people? He looked at me like I'd suggested we run off and join the circus. His confusion was almost sweet. Almost. But I was ready. I'd practiced my lines, found articles online, so conveniently, about how it could spice things up, bring new honesty to a relationship. Honesty. The word tasted like ash in my mouth even as I was saying it. I spun this fantasy of us as these brave pioneers, exploring new relationship territory. I talked about freedom, about growing as individuals, about how this could actually make us stronger. It's not about replacing what we have, Michael, I'd coo, my voice dripping with fake sincerity. It's about adding to it. Don't you think we owe it to ourselves to find happiness everywhere we can? I played on his desire to make me happy, on his fear of being seen as old-fashioned or, even worse, not enough for me. The ugly truth? I was using his own decency against him. I watched him struggle with it, his brow all furrowed, his good nature fighting with how uncomfortable it all made him. The arguments were draining. He'd ask, "But what if you fall in love with someone else?" And I'd laugh, this light, breezy sound that took more effort than he'd ever know. "Don't be silly, Michael. You're my husband. This is just exploring, for both of us." I even pretended to be generous, suggesting he could explore too, knowing damn well his idea of adventure was trying a new brand of coffee. He was a creature of habit, of comfort. The thought of him with another woman? A quick, almost funny image. It never felt real, which just made my lies even uglier. Slowly, carefully, I wore him down. I cried when logic didn't work, faked being vulnerable when he pushed back too hard. I hinted our marriage wasn't working as it was, that this was a way to save us, not break us. The irony was a bitter pill I choked down every day. I was saving my affair, not our marriage. And eventually, bless his naive, trusting soul, he agreed. Hesitantly, uncomfortably, but he caved. He made rules, of course. Honesty at all times, Sarah. We have to be completely honest about who we're seeing, when, everything. I nodded, my face a perfect mask of agreement, while inside, this cold, smug feeling spread through me. His one condition, honesty, was the one thing I had zero intention of giving him. Bryce would stay my secret, my passionate, dirty little truth hidden under our progressive New Deal. The thrill of it was almost too much. I had my cake, and I was stuffing my face with it, not even a little bit sorry. After the open marriage agreement, our encounters with Bryce, while still needing careful management, felt bolder. I'd tell Michael I was with a new friend from a book club I'd never joined, or at a late dinner with a colleague who was pure fiction. Then I'd race to Bryce, my heart hammering not just with fear, but with anticipation. With him, the meticulously constructed Sarah the wife would crumble. I was someone visceral, someone who laughed from her belly, who kissed with an abandon I hadn't felt since I was a teenager. We'd spend hours just talking, connecting on a level that made my life with Michael feel like a silent movie. The sex was a revelation. Passionate, consuming, a stark contrast to the dutiful, almost mechanical encounters I'd grown accustomed to. He made me feel desired, seen, in a way that stripped away years of feeling invisible. The bitterness, though, it never really went away. It just changed. It became this bitter pride in my own cleverness, a bitter laugh at how gullible Michael was. Sometimes I'd look at him, trying so hard to understand this new setup, so trusting, and this wave of something like pity would wash over me. Then, just as quickly, contempt would follow. Contempt for him being so blind, contempt for myself for using it against him. But then Bryce would call, his name a jolt on my phone screen, and the guilt, the contempt, everything just burned up in the excitement of stolen afternoons and whispered secrets. The close calls were terrifying, adrenaline-fueled farces. That time Michael came home early, Bryce and I were in our marital bed, a desecration I barely registered in my recklessness. The sound of his key turning in the lock was like a starter pistol for pure panic. Bryce, bless his agility, transformed into a human blur, clothes flying, before launching himself out our bedroom window and onto the fire escape like some seasoned acrobat. I was left, heart pounding against my ribs like a trapped bird, frantically smoothing sheets, trying to erase the scent of him, the evidence of us, before Michael walked in, his innocent concern a fresh twist of the knife. Another time, he innocently reached for my ringing phone, thinking it was my sister. My blood turned to ice as Bryce's name flashed on the screen, followed by a preview of a message so explicit, so full of our private language, it would have instantly detonated everything. I lunged for it, snatching it back with a choked laugh, babbling some incoherent story about a work colleague's inappropriate joke. My mind raced, inventing alibis on the fly, the lie detector in my head screaming. Each narrow escape didn't sober me. It perversely emboldened me, reinforcing my belief that I was too clever to be caught. I was the master puppeteer and Michael was just my puppet. Or so I thought. The anger I'd felt for so long being trapped in my marriage had twisted into this dark, exhilarating power. I was playing with fire, and damn, the heat felt good. I told myself this was what I deserved, this passionate escape after years of quiet misery. I conveniently forgot I was just as much to blame for that misery as he was. The implosion wasn't some slow crumble, it was a bomb going off, sudden, violent, and it wrecked everything. It happened on a Tuesday, pasta night, ironically. I remember the smell of garlic and tomatoes simmering, a smell that usually meant comfort, predictability. That night, it became the backdrop to my world completely falling apart. I was late. Bryce and I had lost track of time, wrapped up in the intensity of a goodbye kiss that lingered too long in our own selfish little world. I rushed in, out of breath, an apology already on my lips about awful traffic or a last-minute work thing. Michael was in the kitchen, not by the stove, but standing by the island, his back to me. Something about how still he was, the way his shoulders were so rigid, sent an ice-cold shiver right down my spine. The usual comforting smell of dinner felt wrong, tainted by this thick, unmissable tension. "You're late," he said. His voice had none of its usual warmth. It was flat, cold, dead. "I know, I'm so sorry, traffic was insane," I started, the lie just rolling off my tongue, a well-practiced reflex. Then he turned, slowly, and my blood just froze. In his hand he held my phone, my unlocked phone, and on its screen I could see it, even from across the room, a string of messages between Bryce and me. Not just casual updates, these were the passionate, detailed chronicles of our secret life. Pictures, too. Selfies we'd taken, moments I'd thought were just for us, now laid bare as evidence of my profound betrayal. Not the casual, honest encounters our open marriage supposedly allowed for. No, this was a full-blown, passionate, secret affair completely exposed. The kind of deep, emotional entanglement I'd sworn blind to him would never happen. His face. I will never forget his face. It was like watching a horror movie of emotions, one after another. Disbelief, confusion, then this dawning, sickening realization. And then an explosion of pain so raw it felt like it shattered the air around us. His eyes, the eyes that had looked at me with such gentle love for over a decade, were now filled with this unbearable agony. "Who is he, Sarah?" His voice was quiet, dangerously quiet. My mind went blank. All my carefully built lies, all my clever excuses, they just vanished. There was nowhere to run, nowhere to hide. The evidence was right there, glowing like a neon sign of my guilt in his hand. "Michael, I started, but no words came. What the hell could I possibly say? "Don't," he cut me off, his voice rising, cracking. "Don't you dare lie to me again. Not now." He slammed the phone down on the counter, the sound echoing in the horrible, sudden silence. This is him, isn't it? The friend, the colleague. This is why you wanted an open marriage." The accusation just hung there, heavy and suffocating. The open marriage, my brilliant idea. It was now the very thing that showed him just how badly I'd screwed him over. It wasn't just an affair. It was the manipulation, the calculated cruelty of tricking him into okaying his own betrayal. "How long, Sarah?" he choked out, his face pale, his hands clenched into fists. "How long has this been going on, behind the open marriage?" And then the dam broke, not mine, his. The anger, the betrayal, the pure, unfiltered hurt just poured out of him. He wasn't shouting, not at first. It was worse. It was this low, guttural sound from a man whose entire world had just been ripped apart. He picked up a pasta bowl, one of our wedding gifts, and threw it against the wall. It shattered into 1,000 pieces, pretty much like everything around us. "All this time, all those talks about honesty, about trust, you stood there. You looked me in the eye and you lied." His voice was raw, shredded. "You made me feel like I was the one who was crazy for questioning it, for feeling uneasy. You manipulated me into this sham, just so you could carry on with him." He spat out the word him like it was poison. He paced the kitchen like a caged animal, his movements jerky, out of control. He wasn't predictable, stable Michael anymore. He was a stranger, a man drowning in a pain I'd single-handedly caused. And the bitterness I'd held onto for so long, it was staring right back at me, 1,000 times stronger, in his eyes. But this wasn't the dull, simmering bitterness I knew. This was a fresh, raging fire, and I was the one who'd lit the damn match. I just stood there, silent, watching the whole elaborate mess of my double life crumble into dust. The thrill was gone. All that was left was the choking smoke of being caught and the deafening sound of his agony. He finally stopped pacing and looked at me, his eyes burning. "Get out." It was barely a whisper, but it hit me like a hurricane. "Get out of my house." The days that followed are just a blur of shouting, slammed doors, and then this silence that was way more terrifying than any fight. My perfectly planned world hadn't just imploded, it was gone, vaporized. Michael wasn't just angry, he was broken. And his brokenness was this constant, agonizing mirror showing me what a monster I'd been. He moved into the guest room, a huge, uncrossable canyon now splitting our own home. The house, once the symbol of our life together, no matter how boring I'd found it, became a war zone. Every room was filled with unspoken blame and the ghosts of what we'd destroyed. Trying to talk to him? Like trying to reason with a damn hurricane. My apologies, when I finally managed to choke them out, sounded pathetic even to my own ears. How do you say sorry for systematically destroying someone's trust, for turning their love into a weapon you used against them? He'd either stare right through me, his eyes cold and empty, or just explode with fresh anger, digging up every lie, every stolen moment, every carefully planned deceit. "Did you ever love me?" he asked once, his voice hoarse. The question, so simple, so direct, just gutted me, because the horrifying truth was, I didn't even know anymore. My own feelings were this tangled, toxic mess of guilt and a sick kind of regret, maybe not for the affair itself, but for being so damn clumsy, for getting caught, for the sheer size of the mess. "Bryce?" Predictably, he vanished. Poof. Once the reality of the situation crashed down, once he realized the open marriage was a construct I'd sold to Michael under false pretenses, and that Michael now knew everything about our secret world, he backed off so fast he left skid marks. The passionate lover, the wildfire who'd supposedly ignited my soul, turned out to be a thrill-seeker allergic to consequences. His sudden disappearance left a void, true, but it wasn't filled with heartbreak for him. It was filled with a new, acrid bitterness, the bitterness of realizing my grand, life-altering passion was, to him, probably just a convenient lay. The irony wasn't lost on me. I, the user, had been used in turn. My great escape, the affair I'd torched my marriage for, didn't end with a dramatic, tearful goodbye. It ended with his cowardly silence, a pathetic, digital whimper. Those open marriage talks, the rules we'd supposedly agreed on, they became Michael's new favorite weapons. He'd throw my own manipulative words back in my face. All my bullshit about honesty, about respect, about adding to our marriage, every syllable was like a fresh stab, twisting the knife I'd already plunged into his back. My friends, the few I dared tell a heavily edited version of the story to, just gave me empty platitudes, or, even worse, that silent, pitying judgment. I was totally adrift, the genius architect of my own spectacular ruin. The life I'd been so desperate to escape suddenly seemed like paradise lost, not because it was perfect, but because I had actively, deliberately destroyed it for something that was fleeting and, in the end, meant nothing. The thrill had curdled into this sickening, constant nausea. The power I thought I had? It was an illusion, shattered by the simple, undeniable truth. Now there's just this wasteland. Michael filed for divorce, of course. The word amicable is a sick joke in our situation. Every time we have to talk through lawyers or terse texts, it's dripping with his contempt, his barely hidden pain. He wants nothing from me except to be free of me, and who can blame him? I look in the mirror and barely recognize the woman staring back. That vibrant, alive feeling Bryce had sparked, the one that made me feel like the heroine of my own daring story, is long gone. Now, it's just this hollow, aching bitterness that's settled deep in my bones. It's a different kind of bitterness now. Not the restless, simmering anger from before, but the acrid taste of self-loathing and a massive, irreversible loss. I got what I wanted in a really twisted way. I'm free from the suffocating predictability of my marriage. But this new freedom? It's a desolate, empty hellscape. There's no thrill, no passion, just the endless, echoing reminder of my own stupidity, my own cruelty. He called me a liar and a cheat. He was right. And the open marriage, my brilliant idea, it was the fuse I lit myself, expecting a few pretty sparks, and instead, I blew up absolutely everything. There are no lessons learned here, no neat little morals to this story. Just the cold, hard, bitter reality of the wreckage I made. And I have to live in it. Every single damn day. It's a complete disaster, isn't it? My life, I mean. If you've ever found yourself tangled in your own web of lies, or if you've been on the receiving end of something this screwed up, I'm morbidly curious to know I'm not totally alone in this particular brand of self-destruction. Drop a comment below. And if you're just here for the train wreck, well, I guess you could subscribe. There might be more where this came from, unfortunately for me. So that's the story, my grand confession. I tricked my husband into an open marriage for my affair, and he found out. The end. Or, more accurately, the beginning of a very long, very bitter road. Don't be like me. Just don't.